It's been a week since Santa Ana winds, known by some Californians as devil winds, unleashed a fiery nightmare on northern Los Angeles.
The wind was blowing at 128 kilometers per hour. And when you have hurricane force winds and you have a fire breaking out, all hell broke loose.
Flames are still bearing down on neighbourhoods, while residents in others slowly return to their streets.
The best word for it would be apocalyptic. It's the complete decimation of an entire vibrant community, the most vibrant community within the city of Los Angeles.
In the middle of winter, at least 25 people have been killed, dozens still unaccounted for, and more than 10,000 structures lost. Jessica Rogers is one of those in Pacific Palisades whose home has been reduced to ashes.
I live in the perfect American dream home with a white picket fence and cute little rose bush growing over the front door. The only thing that remains that would look anything like my home is the white picket fence sort of blew off but did not burn. And what you see is, you see all the way through. So there's no house to see.
Jessica faces the confronting reality that she may not have insurance coverage.
I brought all my paperwork with me. I went through all my paperwork, and when I couldn't find anything, I then went through all my bank accounts, and I still couldn't find anything. And I received a notice from my insurance broker saying, I haven't insured you since 2023.
Jessica is now seeking legal advice.
The reality is that it wasn't just homes that were destroyed. We have large homeowners associations that were taken down. We have large commercial buildings and large businesses that were taken down as well. So it's a destruction on a magnitude that I don't think anyone has seen here ever.
Insurance broker Nick Ramirez has more than 6 clients who have lost everything.
I have these little blue icons, these home icons. These are clients of mine that live in these areas, right? All 3 of these were total losses. In this area over here, here's another total loss over here on the left side, as you can see it.
How are you dealing with the magnitude of this disaster?
It's like a war room in my office. It's really challenging.
In California, there are government controls on the amount insurers can charge for premiums. In recent years, many major insurers have pulled back on homeowners' coverage in high-risk wildfire areas.
The consequence of that, though, has been that insurers have not been allowed to price for the real risk that they face there. And what that means is a whole lot of insurers have just walked away from California and said it's too much, it's too hard.
They got out because of the concentration of risk. Simply put, they had too much risk in very small areas that were really, really dangerous. Unfortunately, as you can see, there's massive amounts of losses that still haven't even been tallied yet.
We had a fire in Malibu a couple years ago, and from that point forward, State Farm and many other insurance companies backed out. Every time one of my neighbors would get dropped, they would call and they'd say, I just got dropped from my insurance. Do you know of an insurance?
With major insurers pulling out of high-risk areas, more homeowners have turned to the Californian government for coverage. The government's policy, known as the FAIR Plan, is meant to be the insurance policy of last resort.
The California FAIR Plan had a lot of written exposure on the books, and they didn't have that much money in reserves. That's the concern right now, is that there's an insurance carrier who was the second largest in the state behind State Farm that was writing a lot of risk, and no one else wanted to write it. So the reality is, the law of large numbers, all the people who live in the high fire areas have this one insurance carrier.
Ours is a whole of nation approach with a single key set of rules at a federal government level. In the United States, it's state by state, which has implications for insurers on how wide they can spread their risk, but also a huge complexity for the sector in trying to do things differently.
Federal Labor MP Susan Templeman lost her own home to a bushfire in the Blue Mountains in 2013. Last year, she went on an industry-funded tour of the US insurance landscape. Because of the global nature of the insurance industry, she believes the Californian fires will have implications here in Australia.
What happens in one place has a flow on to other insurance premiums. It's not surprising that people are warning we could see increases in premiums.
People are sort of saying it's a 20 to 30 billion US type event, which is a very large event. And that'll be shared amongst sort of the carriers of the US as well as sort of the global reinsurance partners that support those carriers.
The reinsurance market is the safety net for insurance companies, essentially insurance for insurance. Nick Hawkins, Chief Executive of Insurance Australia Group, says his company has no exposure in the US. He says it's too early to tell what the exact cost of the LA fires will be on the insurance industry in Australia.
It could have some impact. I think it'll be quite modest. If the event sort of stays at that 20 or 30 billion US, which I know sounds gigantic and is terrible for the people involved, but it's a very large global market, the reinsurance market. If it stays at that sort of level, then I think the flow-through impact on sort of property insurance in Australia, there'll be a little bit, but I think it'll be quite modest.
In LA, this crisis is far from over. More than 88,000 people remain under evacuation orders, a further 80,000 on standby. Hot, dry winds will see the fire risk elevated until at least Thursday. Only when the danger subsides can Southern California begin counting the final cost.